Alright YouTube, it's time for the Occult video 97 on chants and mantras and things of that nature. Probably more useful than sacrifice and penance, let's say. I am not a believer specifically in the sort of quasi-separated Hindu pantheon. That is, technically Hinduism is a polytheism in that it has all these different figures, but it's also technically a monotheism because really the source is Brahma. All these other sort of forms are kind of offshoots of the same expressions of the same one universal cosmic force that simply expresses itself in an anthropic manner, except with Ganesha, of course, or Hanuman. Some of these figures aren't exactly quite as human as the other. Now, Ganesha always walks upright. I don't know how he holds his head up. I guess it's because he's a god. Hanuman, he's got some significant deformities going on, I suppose. But the concept of mantras, I think, is a good one. Not because, you applaud Ganesha 108 times and you get luck, or you call upon Kali with this mantra and destroy something that's in your path or something like that. Not necessarily. I suppose it can be used for that purpose in the same manner as like memetics or any other form of magic, really. It all fits in, and it's all useful in its own way to different people at different times and for different purposes. But more for the meditative aspect, I would say. Some of these mantras, the music is quite beautiful. The chanting itself is quite beautiful. It's relaxing. It can invoke emotion, which can be useful in side rituals associated with it. For instance, a mantra that's supposed to be more destructive, it's towards a more aggressive entity, something like Kali or Shiva. Would be different from the sort of thing that you would get from Ganesha or Hanuman or something, or Parvati or something like that. Insofar as it's used for that purpose, I think it's quite good. And if you're using it for just a secular purpose, say, oh, it helps me relax. Okay, well then it helps you relax. It helps you achieve other goals. Well, there you go. There's a positive aspect of the mantra right there. Chanting is the same. I am completely opposed to Judeo-Christianity, but I still enjoy listening especially to Orthodox chanting. But I would say any sort of random assembly of like Catholic monks as well, or anything like that, I enjoy listening to that sort of music. To me, it has a more dark, spooky vibe at times, and sort of evokes images of like a bunch of shave-headed monks with like little oil lanterns slowly ascending up to some tower to do their penance or something, or brewing their ale and they're all like drunk and like falling over themselves or something. And it's all very medieval, and there's like wind, rain spattering against the windows and a chill outside. There's like wolves prowling around in the swamps around the monastery. That sort of thing, I can get a little bit descriptive sometimes. I have an active imagination, especially listening to music. But I would say, insofar as it's relaxing, it's entertaining, it's calming, it's useful in association with some other form of ritualism, very good thing to do. And in this sense, it's a form of sonic magic, really, is what it is. I speak about this in my work on sonic occultism. The sort of chants and religious mantras and sort of sonic ritualism you get there is a standalone ritual. It's a rite, a religious, a spiritual rite. There are certain types of chants, for instance, that a Catholic or Orthodox group would associate with different types of the season. One with Yule and another for like, All Hallows Eve or something like that, or whatever they happen to be celebrating in their congregation. It evokes different imagery. It's useful for different purposes. The idea that, for instance, like the Halloween season, the harvest sort of festival stuff, is any different from any of the pagan harvest festivals in which they ate fire and juggled and got drunk and took mushrooms and all these things. It's no different. It's a different type of ceremony, but the purpose is essentially the same. In fact, much of the Judeo-Christian imagery associated with their chants is intertwined with paganism. If you read Cultus Arborum, Ophiolatreia, any of these things, Phallism, which I've just completed, and I'll be doing an update about that after this video's done. If you read any of these things, it's quite clear that paganism really informs the majority of, not the minority of, all Christian worship. Most of what Christians do is not even in their own doctrine. It comes from paganism. Much of what the Jews celebrate comes from sort of the Babylonian or Asherah cult style traditions that came before them, before they ever wrote a word of the Old Testament down on a piece of parchment. much of Islam is taken from paganism from that region. For instance, the very idea of circumambulating the Kaaba. Well, the Greeks did that before at the Oracle at Delphi. The Arabic pagans did it as well. In fact, they even used the Kaaba itself. Even the word Kaaba comes from body and spirit from Egyptian. It doesn't even originate from Arabic. And so, if you look at these mantras, and Hindu mantras are a little bit different. But if you're looking at like the chants of the Western, the Judeo-Christians, they're very pagan influenced. Almost all of them, like the green sleeve sort of stuff, like the old English carols. It's all got pagan imagery in it. You know, the Father Winter and the mistletoe and all this stuff. It's not even Christian. It has nothing to do with Christianity. Mistletoe is not mentioned there. Doesn't even grow in that part of the world. Doesn't grow in Judea. It grows in Europe. So even from a botanical perspective, it's pagan influence. As far as the mantras go, or the Buddhist mantras, I would say those are quite relaxed. I prefer the Hindu mantras to the Buddhist mantras myself, just from my own experience. I like them more. They sound better to me. I also even like modern music from India that happens to be religious in nature. And so I'll put a link in the description to one song that I find particularly enjoyable. I think many of you will too. It's almost like a rock spiritual. I assume that it's like the equivalent of Celtic Cry or Mercy Me or John Garrity or some of this other Christian music in the West. I despise the Christian side of like the neo-folk and sort of music, white metal and stuff like that. But in India, it seems to work pretty well. It's more enjoyable than 99% of what you'll hear on the radio. And it's a religious song. It's about Kali, Kali. It's one of their goddesses, or one of the expressions of their sort of cosmic godhead. And so I would say the mantras are outright spiritual, and they have a specific occult purpose that is not frowned upon. If you're chanting a mantra in this tradition, there is an explicit purpose to it. You know, this one protects you from curses. That one helps you be lucky in all of your affairs. This one helps attract love. That one helps keep your enemies at an arm's distance. This one is good for women if they're in trouble or they want a kid or something. It's got an occult purpose. And I would say the fundamentalists of the West would certainly frown upon it and call it witchcraft. I smile upon it and I say it's enjoyable to listen to, even if you're not pairing it with any ritualism. On its own, the mantra, unless you're chanting along with it, focusing on it in sort of a meditative way, it doesn't really have a purpose. It's just noise. Within the context of sonic occultism, though, the greatest use of any repetitive mantra or chanting is as a side to a more elaborate ceremonial ritual. Although standalone, it has a definite impact as well. That's about all. Peace out.